So the Super Rugby Pacific competition has absolutely been flying by, and we're already at round 4. The opening contest of this round, the Chiefs taking on MOANA Pasifika in Hamilton. The Chiefs have the potential from moving to 3rd to 2nd in the overall standings, whereas for MOANA Pasifika, they can potentially go from last place into the top 6, depending on the other results of this round. And in this preview, we'll be looking through at the lineups, which do have quite a few changes compared to what we saw just last week. The key players to keep an eye out for, a bit of the head-to-head history, and then also a prediction at the end who I think will win this contest. But starting with the Chiefs, they have got a couple concerning injuries, but at the same time, there are some big returns into this Chiefs lineup. Starting in the front row, it is Bennett Kumiroa alongside Samisoni Taukei'aho and Ruben O'Neill Taukei'aho. Of course, everyone knows that power game that he brings to the Chiefs. Up against a physical side in MOANA Pasifika, it's exactly who you want to have at the front of those scrums. In the locking duo, it is Naitoa Akoi alongside Tupou Vai, who has been given captaincy for this Chiefs team. It means that Josh Law will be making his way off the bench, but I can guarantee you that's not from form, as he has been absolutely phenomenal the last couple matches for this Chiefs side. In the loose forward trio, Summer Pettifino at 6, Jerome Brown at 7, and Simon Parker at number 8. Some injury news out of the Chiefs camp. Luke Jacobson, he has got a hip injury. No return date given as of yet by the Chiefs. And also Wallace Satiti out with a hamstring issue. Now that man has collected a fair share of injuries throughout the last couple of years, and the last thing that the All Blacks will want is for him to be down at the end of Super Rugby. In the 9-10 combination, it is great news for Chiefs supporters. We see Cortez Ratama return from paternity leave at number 9, and the same can be said about this man at 10, Damian McKenzie. They would have loved to have him last week in the contest up against the Crusaders, but he is now back. It's a dangerous duo, him and Ratama. It works quite nicely at Super Rugby level. No Xavier Rowe for this contest due to an ankle injury, so Te Taroa Tahuriarangi will once again make his way off of the bench. In the midfield, it is Quintupai at 12 with Lalakai Fokiti getting his first start for the Chiefs at 13. Leroy Carter out on the left wing. Moni Narawa out on the right. He was a menace in those breakdowns last week, as well as just general play. And then Liam Coombs-Fabling, he comes in at number 15. It means that Josh Jacob will be off of the bench in this game. Same with Lord, like I mentioned. Kalen Boshier too. So overall, a very strong-looking Chiefs bench for this matchup. MOANA Pasifika, they have made a few slight switches compared to what we saw in their match just last week up against the Western Force. Now, they'd be disappointed with the end result of that contest, losing by 14 at home. It was a beatable Western Force side, many would say, but MOANA just not quite making the most of their opportunities there. Looking through at the starting lineup, though, it is Abraham Poli at number 1, Millennium Sanarevi at 2, and Chris Apua slots in as the 3, so no massive switches compared to what we saw last week. Tom Savage and Alan Craig, the experienced locking duo for this contest too. Miracle Faialangi at 6, Samisi Paia at 7, and then to close out the 4-pack, Samisi Tupou Taieloa. I don't think anyone saw as much of Miracle Faialangi in that game up against the Western Force as first anticipated. Definitely with how he was playing up against the Fijian drawer, but he does need a big match here. In fact, he needs an absolutely huge one when talking about the head-to-head between the Chiefs and MOANA Pasifika. In the back line, it will be Augustine Pulu as the number 9. Now, there are a few unfortunate injuries here for MOANA. They have lost Milani Matavau, who looked like a great impact player off the bench just last week, and they have also lost Jonathan Tamatine. So a little bit lighter on the halfbacks. It does give the opportunity to Lamb off the bench in the number 21 jersey, but not really the time to be losing your halfbacks when the opposition are just now bringing back Cortez Ratama. In the 10 jersey, it is Jackson Garden Bishop, so opting to go with Patrick Pellegrini off of the bench. He has started the rest of the games throughout Super Rugby Pacific, so trying to use him a little bit more as an impact player in this contest and maybe a bit more size up front in Jackson Garden Bishop. In the midfield, it is Nani Laumape alongside Tavita Latu. Out on the left wing, Solomon Alai Marlow. Out on the right, Tavita Offa, and then Glenn Vaihu, he slots in as number 15. So still a few other injuries that the MOANA Pasifika side are dealing with. No Israel Leota after his injury on debut. Still the ankle injury to be determined, I believe, how long that man will be out. And also William Harvey still not returning from that nasty neck injury he suffered in round 2. But nonetheless, those are the starting lineups. Looking at previous form from this competition for the Chiefs, they have had 3 New Zealand derbies, 2 of which they have been able to win. Their first contest up against the Blues, winning at 19 points to 15. The second game up against the Highlanders, 26-23. And then their most recent contest last week up against the defending champions, the Crusaders. They did start that match extremely well, but Crusaders coming back into it and winning at 43 points to 33. So far this season, the Chiefs have actually won 100% of their away games, but 0% of their home contest. For Moana Pasifika, they were successful in round 1 up against the Fijian draw in Fiji, 40 points to 26. The second game, they did lose 52 points to 10 up against the Hurricanes. And then the most recent game up against the Western Force, losing 35 points to 19. So they too have a 0% home winning rate for 2026. But jumping into a few of the interesting stats around the head-to-head between these two sides, the Chiefs have a very good average up against Moana Pasifika. And I'm talking about an average that even the New Zealand cricket side would be impressed with. The Chiefs, when they play Moana Pasifika at FMG Stadium, they average 66 points per game. They scored 85 in their last meeting. The one prior to that, 68, and the inaugural match for these two sides at FMG, the Chiefs won at 45 points to 12. Now, Moana Pasifika, they have got an average that a bowler would be quite happy with, and that is just over 10.3. But when you look at that comparison, that says that this could be a very one-sided affair between these two sides. And I think that the biggest concern for Moana Pasifika is, yes, they lost a huge amount of players last year, but a couple specific players, I feel their absence will be felt that little bit more. Noati Savia, he was the lone man to score the try in that 85-7 domination last year, and someone who maybe could have had a little bit of an impact, Kieran Tomoefalau, but he is now signed with the Chiefs, and unfortunately for him, with the fact that they've already got Leroy Carter and Amoni Narawa, he only gets to play for the Chiefs B team at this stage. So is this the type of game that it would have been great to see Tomoefalau in that Moana Pasifika kit? Absolutely, but I just hope he gets minutes for the Chiefs, or else it does seem like a signing that they just didn't really need for this season. He may find himself getting some minutes at 15 at some stage a bit later on. Apparently that's where he's been playing a little bit for the B side. So we will wait to see if that does happen. But overall, this Chiefs side is looking very strong on paper. Moana Pasifika, they will have to be very much so up for this challenge at FMG. Anything under 50 points conceded, ironically, is actually a good day for Moana based on previous meetings. But it could be a very long day at the office for Moana if they aren't able to get that defence right early on in the contest. But nonetheless, we will jump into a prediction now of who I think will win this game. It looks like it should be one-sided on paper, but at the same time, that game between the Fijian draw and Moana Pasifika early on in the Super Rugby season does show that sometimes an underdog can get over the line. We've actually seen a lot of underdog victories throughout the early stages of the season, but I think this one will just be too much. The return of Ratame and McKenzie in that 9-10 channel, the absence of Havili Tamatine Matavao, it's going to be a big one, and I do think the Chiefs will be fired up as well after losing to the Crusaders. So I am going Chiefs. I don't want to say they'll get their 66 average, but I think they'll probably bring up the half century. We'll go 54 points to 12. Now, this is one of those games that I would absolutely love to be wrong, and if we see a lot closer game, that would be awesome. Moana Pasifika, they have never beaten the Chiefs. They're still looking to get that one win eventually, but the closest that they've been is 15 points down, so there's still a lot of ground that needs to be made for this side. But do, of course, let me know your score predictions for this matchup in the comments down below. It is kicking off at 7:05 p.m. on Friday night here in New Zealand. We are going to be covering it on the channel with the commentary, so be sure to tune in for that. Thank you all very much for watching. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all for the next one.